Thanks for joining me again on The Fool's Journey by the Third Eye of Providence. I appreciate the support. If this is the first time you are checking out this content, you should know that this is one episode of a series of content I'm putting on my channel. Starting January 1st, 2021, we are walking through each card of the tarot day by day. Now we are on episode number 19, and that brings us to card number 18, the Moon. This is the Robert Hansen's Tarot, and I'm using this as the main study guide for this series because it is a deck that can be read with reversals. I'm comparing the imagery in this card to the imagery in the card from the Twin Tarot, which shows the positive light aspect, and it shows a negative shadow aspect of the same card. We're going to get into the Complete Book of Tarot, a comprehensive guide by Anthony Lewis, and I will show you the moon based on the imagery in this book. So, this is not quite a traditional imagery, but the important symbolism is still there. So, the moon. Things that go bump in the night. The astrology connected with the moon card in the tarot is Pisces, the fishes, which are a water sign ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. So this card is connected to the element of water. A lot of people make the mistake of associating tarot readings with the moon card and Cancer because Cancer is ruled by the moon. I'd say that it is definitely a lot more of a Pisces card to me because it's talking about the dream world and the dream state, and that is definitely Neptunian. But I feel like you can use your own intuition and go either way. If you think that the person involved in the reading is a Cancer or a Pisces, no doubt they're most likely a water sign either way. So, the archetype in the myth connected with the moon card, of course, would be Selene, the moon goddess, as you can see her here. We also connect it to Hecate. We connect it with Queen of the Night, which is the gatekeeper between the worlds. And we also connect the moon card with the goddess of the moon, birthing, and the hunt, which is Diana. Now, going back through many different versions of tarot, according to this deck from 1888, the moon card would represent deception, error, or twilight. And in the reverse, it would represent deceptions, mistakes, and fluctuations. I guess because cycles, like the cycles of the moon, right? In the Rider-Waite, when a moon card appears in a reading, it's going to represent hidden enemies, danger, darkness, terror, deception, the occult forces, errors, and calumny. I think it's another word for just confusions. In the reverse with the Rider-Waite, when this card appears, it will show instability, silence, and lesser degrees of deception and error. In the tradition of the Order of the Golden Dawn, when the card of the moon appears in the reading, it will represent voluntary change, as opposed to involuntary change of the death card. It can also represent dissatisfaction, and when the moon card is ill-dignified, it might signify deception, error, and falsehood. So, of course, in the positive and the upright aspects of the moon card, we see again this connection of illusion, mystery, haziness, unforeseen influences, things that are not what they appear, and voluntary changes, phases, and cycles. We also see dreams and imagination. The unconscious, if you will. So in the negative, it's going to show confusion and deception. It's going to represent a lack of clarity, disconnection from reality, darkness, misunderstanding, ambiguity, and instability. Okay, so in the upright, when the moon appears in a reading, it suggests that circumstances may be elusive, unclear, or confusing, fluctuating or unsteady at this time. The moon has a dark side, always hidden from human view. Individuals under the influence of drugs or alcohol can cause problems. Important information may have been misunderstood or may not have yet be within your grasp. Unforeseen influences may be at work, and matters are likely to look different in the light of day. You may be in one phase of a cycle, and only with the passage of time will the next phase reveal itself. Don't jump to conclusions or act on impulse. Be sure to have the accurate and verifiable information before making major decisions. When the moon card is in reverse, it's going to indicate that you are about to emerge from a period of confusion or uncertainty. Many readers regard the inverted moon card as posing milder problems than the card does upright. Sometimes the reverse moon appears when a female querent is facing gynecological difficulties. Interesting. Oh, right, disruptions in your cycles. So, let's get into the symbolism. Like I said, we have the Robert Hanson's is sort of a more traditional version of the moon that you'll see. And I believe the imagery is very similar to the one in the book rather. Yes, it is. So, one more time for reference there. And then let me show you the Robert Hanson's. So the important things to pay attention to in the moon card when it comes to the symbolism, of course, is the moon. What you need to know, too, is that the moon is simply reflecting the sun, right? And the sun is happiness. The sun is, in the tarot, it represents very supreme and divine knowledge. So we have a reflection of the divine here shown in the moon. And of course, the goddess Diana, Selene. Now, another image that is very traditional for this card is you're going to see a dog and a wolf both howling at the moon, and a lobster coming out of the water. And I think it is also traditional to see these two pillars, castles, towers, however you want to interpret that, in the background there. Now, you can see here too the dog and the wolf howling at the moon with the lobster. The symbolism of the dog is really important because the dog talks about loyalty, it talks about companionship, and it talks about just like that heart-centered loving capacity. The wolf, on the other hand, talks about solidarity and talks about like pack mentality, but being a lone wolf at the same time. So the differences between the dog and the wolf are very clear. You have one that is the loyal companion, and you have one that is the alpha charging, leading the way on its own. And the other thing I want to point out, of course, about the moon card is there's typically going to be water, because we're talking about reflection here. It's a little bit more easy to pick it up in this symbolism, but it is still here, right? The reflection of the sun. The moon reflects. It shows the subconscious. It shows the unconscious. It is not something that we are always very consciously aware of, right, in the forefront of our minds. So, why I think this is important to connect to Pisces is because Pisces are intuitive, very divinely intuitive, because we're so connected to the dream state. That's the Neptunian energy. And Neptune is definitely a planet that has a lot of influence with illusion. So when the moon card comes out, it's really important to remember the moon is reflecting the subconscious. It is connected to the dream state, and it is connected to the intuition and the desires from above, but also from within. If I get the moon card in a reading, I know something is supposed to not be revealed, or it's still unclear at this time. Again, it might also be part of a bigger cycle that isn't going to be visible until time tells the tale. You can't really force it. When the moon comes out in a reading, you can ask for a clarifier, you can ask for clarity, but there's a reason why these things are not to be revealed to you at this time. Now, when it comes out in the reverse, you see a very different image. There's no longer the dog here. There's no longer the loyal companion, the devoted sidekick. It's just the wolf howling at the moon. There's no lobster either here anymore coming out of the water. So there's nothing fertile. There's no divinity. And of course, the moon in this card is experiencing an eclipse. And I think that's also why we see the bats out here instead of the dog, and instead of, you know, like instead of the prosperity and the tree and everything. It's all about the scavenge, the what's left. So I think basically when the moon in reverse comes out in the reading, it's going to suggest to me that there is something known. This is not fully it's not fully illusioned from the current. They know something, but they're refusing to acknowledge it, or they kind of want to ignore it. They want to just go off in one direction and not have this equal balance here. So again, it's about the cycles, and it's about being aware of something but not wanting to face it consciously. I'm sure there's a lot more symbolism to the moon card that I have not picked up. And of course, the moon on its own is a very deep topic to get into. And that's definitely why it's connected with Pisces and the water signs in general, because of the pull of the moon. So feel free to leave a comment below with any insights you might have to symbolism with the moon that people should pay attention to when it comes to readings, and especially tarot cards. And hopefully this helped you learn something new about the moon and the tarot. And I thank you guys for your participation on the channel, hitting the like button, being subscribed, and if you hit the save on the playlist, you can tune into these episodes whenever you get a chance. Stay tuned for the next one, and thank you again for the support.